Welcome to NYNJPA Weather, your weather source for the Northern Mid-Atlantic. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and first I just want to apologize. My voice is a bit off, a bit under the weather, but the show must go on. So let's talk about the latest weather conditions. Well, the good news is that the Northern Mid-Atlantic is finally getting a break from all these winter storms, with high pressure settling over much of the eastern United States. Now, this is a cold high pressure with Arctic air, so temperatures won't be rising all that much today, generally in the mid to upper 20s in most locations. In fact, most locations have already seen their high temperatures for today, and temperatures are pretty much going to hold steady or fall, especially over the interior parts of the Northern Mid-Atlantic. Along the coast, you'll waver pretty close to 30 degrees before falling off this afternoon. Of course, this also means that any of the wet surfaces from the previous ice storm from yesterday is going to refreeze, and there's going to be a significant threat for black ice. So be careful out there. Even if the roads look pretty good, if you see any shiny spots, that's likely ice. Now, the next major storm that we're looking at is for Saturday, and I probably even shouldn't say major. This looks like more of a nuisance than anything else. Let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture. So we have two disturbances in play here for Saturday. We have a polar/Arctic disturbance that's basically developing around Alaska that's going to dive south towards the Great Lakes by Friday night. And of course, we have our subtropical disturbance that is developing over the southern plains. That disturbance will exit by Friday night over the southern plains, so the Super Bowl should be just fine. However, an area of low pressure with plenty of moisture is going to develop along the Gulf Coast, move up towards the Ohio Valley by Friday night, and on Saturday morning redevelop off the New Jersey coast. Now, let me stress that we are in a positive NAO pattern. What that basically means is that there isn't really much in the way of blocking over the North Atlantic, which means there's no high pressure to the north of the storm, which with this type of storm track so close to the coast will mean that locations like New York City, Philadelphia, pretty much any location along the coast or around the major urban areas will warm up above freezing before this storm even reaches those locations, because we're going to have an easterly wind. An easterly wind off the Atlantic means rain. So I'm looking at mostly a rain event for the immediate coast. Further inland over the interior, it'll be cold, but much of the moisture is going to be positioned along or off the east coast, because there really isn't a complete phase with this system until it gets into New England. As a result, I'm looking at a light to moderate snowfall on Saturday for locations like northeastern Pennsylvania, extreme northwest New Jersey, the Hudson Valley, and portions of interior Connecticut, generally around Hartford on northward. This storm is not really that much of a big deal, aside from the potential for bringing up a lot of moisture. And with rain along the coast, there will be a threat for some coastal flooding. Specifically, I shouldn't say coastal flooding, more like ponding and localized flash flooding because of the snow melt and because of the heavy rain. Looking at anywhere around an inch to possibly maybe an inch and a half of rain along the immediate coast as this low pressure system develops and exits. The other thing is that it's a fast-moving low-pressure system, comes in Saturday morning, exits by Saturday afternoon and evening. So again, this does not look like a major deal. Behind this storm, it gets cold. Again, as an Arctic cold front moves through on Monday and Tuesday, it could be a wave of low pressure that develops along that to produce an extended period of light snow as the Arctic air moves in. But right now, this does not look like a major deal as far as precipitation, but you'll definitely feel the change in the temperatures on Tuesday afternoon as temperatures crash through the 30s and into the 20s. And then Wednesday and Thursday looks to be rather chilly with highs struggling in the 20s. That's a good 10 to 15 degrees below normal for this time of year. So winter is not coming to an end. As far as the long-range pattern, well, let's take a look, as I have some interesting thoughts here for the rest of February. This is the Ensemble European guidance for days 7 through 10 from the Penn State eWall. Now, the important thing I want to point out here is that this winter pattern is not collapsing, it's reloading. A few features to point out towards the 7 to 10 day period. We have what's called a negative EPO pattern redeveloping, which basically means that the upper level low or trough is sitting around the Aleutians, which sets up a ridge along or just off the west coast and just drives Arctic air right into the central part of the country and towards the east coast. We've seen this before. It's usually the leading edge to what eventually will be a negative Arctic oscillation, which basically all your lower heights are towards the Canadian-U.S. border, and eventually a redeveloping negative NAO. Notice that the heights are building over parts of Western Europe and northern parts of Greenland. That ridge will eventually shift towards Greenland once again. Our lower heights are developing off the Canadian coast once again, off of the Canadian Maritimes. And all of this points to eventual return of a west-based negative NAO pattern, which is what produced all of our major storms through much of this month of January. So it looks like we get a little bit of a break to start February, and we could definitely use it. And then for the second half of February and into early March, don't expect any relent of this winter. Looks like it's going to be cold and stormy. I explain why in the premium discussions, where we take a look at the stratosphere, La Nina, and a whole host of other driving mechanisms, so you can better understand what to expect with this upcoming pattern and how long it will last. So if you're interested in the long-range forecast, I strongly suggest checking out a premium membership. It's only $9.99 a month or $50 for a full year. Anyway, so don't expect winter to end anytime soon, and don't put away those gloves and shovels. Thank you for visiting NYNJPA Weather. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Have an excellent day.